Hey everyone, welcome to the 6th episode of Talking to the Moon, and today I am here with Sarvesh in his beautiful apartment complex in Atlanta. And after a lot of changes, we have finally decided the perfect location to shoot this.
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk about something everyone is passionate about, and that is food. But what is special about Sarvesh is that he has pursued his master's in food science, which I think is incredible and so unique. But before we start talking about food and your journey, I want to tell our audience how I know Sarvesh. So Sarvesh and I were in the same undergrad college back in India. Although I never really knew him, I knew of him. He was very popular. He was in all these amazing clubs, and we reconnected here in Atlanta. And when I got to know what he's pursued in the US for his master's, I was really fascinated. So let's get started. Were you always passionate about food while growing up? Like, we all love food, but were you more passionate than others? Were you like a big time foodie?
I was a big time foodie, so I don't know about being more passionate than others, but I grew up a chubby kid. Always, I remember I have pictures back home where I would be drenched in flour and, completely opposite to my actual color tone. I would be white for a change. But yeah, I have pictures like those. Always I find myself in the kitchen by the maids or by my mom, looking at what they're doing. And I think somewhere that cultivated in me the interest of food, or rather how it's made, than what it is. So, exploring flavors. Pretty early in my childhood, I started making my own food as well.
Oh wow!
I used to make brilliant pastas back home, a desi version. But it would have the base would be same as the Italians, but then I would add some garam masala just for the flavor.
Yeah, and how old were you when you were doing
I think I was pretty much in the 6th standard. So
wow,
I think
that's amazing.
That is when I started, and then that's it. After even coming back from school or sometime before tuitions or something, I'd just go down to the kitchen because my mom would be busy. So I would go do something by myself. Even if it's Maggie, I'll try something out, put some veggies and try something new. Yeah, something really interesting. I still love it. I still do it. If I find kurkure in Atlanta or in the US, I'd make a cheese sauce on the side. And I'd have my kurkure dipping in it. Wow. It tastes brilliant. I love it. Some people love it. Some people don't fancy cheese as such. So there's always that part. But if I ever find kurkure in Atlanta, I'll just go buy it and do this.
Okay, and I can vouch for his cooking skills because once we all had gone to his place for a Diwali party. And first he brought out these starters or the entrees, and it was this heavenly chicken roast, I think.
I don't really remember. I think,
yeah, and then there were really interesting sides, and that itself was really filling, and it was 9 p.m. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so happy and satisfied right now. And then
a proper 7-course meal.
And then when we were almost about, I was like, oh, I think I should get going. He was like, hey, the dinner hasn't yet begun. And there comes out chicken biryani, and then I think there was puri and
pav bhaji
and so many things. And he had made all of it from scratch by himself, which was incredible.
The best part was making the pavs.
Making the pavs?
Yeah, that
he
was
made
the
the
best
pavs. So pav is like an Indian bread, it's like a bun. He made that from scratch. So I was completely floored and overwhelmed.
Baked it at home. Yeah.
Wow. That is insane.
It's fun. It's the best thing you can do on a Saturday or Sunday is just cook the whole day.
Right.
Yeah.
I think.
And more than that, I think I grew up in a house where we used to host people a lot. So I think there would be hardly a few weekends or a few days where we would not have guests over.
I see.
So I saw my parents hosting people. They would have lot of food at home and stuff. So I love doing it too. Especially not only food but even serving alcohol. So I love getting people drunk. So I think that's how it all got into me.
Got into you.
Yeah.
And then you pursued chemical engineering back in India. While doing that, was this thought of pursuing food science somewhere at the back of your mind, or not really? You had sort of given up on.
Actually, the story is much different.
Okay.
So after my high school or my 12th grade, I was pretty much confused. I mean, I don't know what I want to do in life. I was always interested towards food.
Right.
So I was like, should I go for culinary science? Should I go to a culinary school instead?
Right.
I missed my deadlines for IHM, Mumbai.
Oh.
That's an Institute of Hotel Management.
Yeah.
Since I missed that, the only option I had was El Ecole in Lonavala, which is quite a good school.
Okay.
But then, people started talking. My relatives came back to me. They were like, do you really want to do this, or rather just, pursue something that is more beneficial and then pursue your passion for food?
Yeah.
And then I think that's how I also got into chemical engineering, because I realized that chemical engineering would make a really good foundation towards food science or food technology. And from there, during chemical engineering as well, during those 4 years, most of the courses they taught, like thermodynamics, chemical sciences, everything, most of it, distillation especially, most of it I inculcated in a way that how this can be applied towards food technology.
So it was always at the back of your mind.
It was always at the back of my mind. Like, they would teach me about distillation, for example. I was like, well, that's how beer is made. That's how whiskey is made. I would try to analyze those applications in such manner that, I knew that, okay, this is what I want to do ahead. And that is how it completely grew. There was one person I remember, I don't remember her name, but she was studying chemical engineering as well. She was my senior. And then she was going for food science as well.
I see.
So I was like, well, this is something. And since she was my senior, I got a really good guidance about how to go about it or what are the next steps. So that's how it all came about. Unfortunately, I did not go to culinary school. So I'm not a chef, but a food scientist.
Well, he's not chef based on some degree, but based on what we have eaten, he's a master chef. So what I have always been fascinated about is what kind of courses you took in your masters, which you pursued at Drexel University in Philadelphia.
Well, courses ranged everything from understanding what different ingredients are, all the way to how you digest them. So you'd be learning about food safety, you'd be learning about food microbiology, analyzing different foods, you'd be learning about winemaking, brewing, you'd also be learning about product development, you'd be learning, there's so much more. You'd be also learning about food chemistry, food technology, which are a major part of the food industry. You'd also be looking at a broad aspects of sensory evaluation, because they actually finalize what your food is. And in the end, you'd be looking at nutrition or community nutrition to understand what's required in the world and what are certain things the food industry can move forward with.
I see. So when you say sensory evaluation, it means like all the 5 senses. How those interact with food.
How those interact with food. And I think most of them, like your vision, is basically telling how appealing the food is. Your tongue or taste is telling what different flavors are like. The touch tells you the texture of the food. So, and texture in itself determines how you should have it. So if you look at a gravy, it has a viscous texture. So you would rather have it with bread or with a spoon. But at the same time, a piece of meat can be had with your hands or a fork and knife. So
I see.
That becomes a big part of the food.
Cool. And what were your favorite subjects amongst all of these?
So my favorite subject was product development. Because I enjoyed experimenting with different ingredients, understanding how they function, studying about these ingredients, researching on them. From there, I also enjoyed a lot of brewing classes, and wine making classes because it was always fun tasting what you make.
Yeah.
And then I think the best part was the courses would be from 6 to 9.
Oh, so it's like
it was pretty much like we would be going back home almost tipsy.
That's crazy.
So it was to be fun.
Yeah.
And since everyone was over 21, the whole class would be tipsy by the end of the class.
Nice.
So yeah, it was always fun. Apart from that, I enjoyed a lot of food engineering or food technology classes because my engineering background came really handy. At the same time, I was also able to help my other fellow colleagues in my class to understand the subject or try to solve problems when it came to rigorous math that needed to be done or some calculations, which used to be difficult.
And which was the least favorite or you felt the most pointless subject?
Well, it is not the most pointless, but speaking more diplomatically, I did not enjoy community nutrition a lot.
Okay.
Part of it being I did not follow it. So I would be consuming everything out there. And then the course taught about what is required for your body, how much is required. I'd be like, well, I have over limits on each one of them. So it didn't make much sense to me, but ultimately, well, it's really important.
It is important, yeah, true. And then you come here to Atlanta and you start working. How does a typical day in your work life look like? I'm really curious.
A typical day, so I used to work in a baked goods company, and we used to do a lot of cookies, breads and rolls. So my major part of the work was working in the gluten-free space.
Okay.
So my day-to-day would start with understanding what's going on the production floor, since it was a manufacturing company. So I would go talk to everyone on the floor because I think somewhere communication becomes a really good way to analyze what's wrong or what's going right in the whole production business. So trying to talk with the mixers would be mixing doughs and everything, and talking with the depositors, also seeing how much deposits are being made, what the weights are like, understanding the efficiency of those machines and what your final output is.
Okay. And I'm sure a lot of experimentation happens, right? Like,
a lot.
Like different permutations and combinations of different ingredients if you are experimenting with a new recipe or something. Like who interacts how with whom?
So a lot of that happens when we are doing our benchtop tests. Because of course, in the end, the food business or food science is also profit making. So no one wants to bear losses by trying something on a large scale. So we would start with around 1 pound of batch instead of making 500 pounds. So it would scale up to more than that too. But even on that 1 pound batch, we would try to analyze how different flours interact with each other, what different types of sugars, for example, amount of salt, amount of fat you want to add in it, so butter, oils, things like that. What other functional ingredients? So when I say functional, it would be usually the commercial functional ingredients such as your gums, which help bind things. So a lot of these things come together. And
so I imagine this must be like very physically grueling. I think you told me once you are standing for 8 hours at stretch.
It can happen. So especially when we have line trials or we are trying to scale up a product from bench top, so we are taking a 1 pound product all the way to 1,000 pounds, and when that happens, everything changes. Sometimes we have to make adjustments to make that product work because everything changes, from the amount of friction that's going in to mix it well and everything like that. So given that, we would be standing 8 hours continuously, or we would only get 30 minutes to sit throughout the day, even while testing in the lab or something.
Wow, insane. But I think this also has some really fun and rewarding returns. I know that there's this one big ice cream brand in the US for which you developed a flavor. Speak more about that.
Well, there's this big brand in the US which which is now a big brand.
Okay.
Back then it wasn't much.
Was it your flavor which propelled it into becoming a big brand?
Not at all, not at all. So my flavor also did not ever get selected.
Okay.
So the flavor that got selected was chocolate and something with, to do with lime, and that was developed me along with my two other colleagues.
Right.
But there was this one sole flavor I made with guava, chili, and tamarind and tangerine in it, which was inspired from India again.
Yeah.
Because there was this very famous ice cream shop or a hawker cart in Pune, and they used to have this ice cream, guava with chili. And that's how it inspired me. I brought it here.
Yeah.
I was like, let's try this out.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well, but again, due to the conscience of the population and the sensory evaluation, again, which plays an important part.
Role,
It never moved there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, along a niche group of people, everyone loved it.
I would have loved it for sure, because we have spent our childhoods eating guava and salt from the roadside fruit seller. So did your thing have salt also in it? Because you mentioned guava.
It did have salt.
So ice cream with salt.
We added the Himalayan pink salt.
I see.
So
Interesting. Nice. Also, another thing what happened is when I was coming to the US, and I've never stayed away from my home back in India. This is the first time I was staying away from my home. So all my relatives or all the people who were my well-wishers, they were like, oh, you have to go and cook there for yourself. You have to like wash dishes and like cook and like how will you manage all of this? I'm like, cooking is like the last thing I'm concerned about. But like you should give me stress for like studying and stuff. And it's not that I cooked a lot or I was passionate about cooking or something like that. I just came here and I started like just doing things, which I think surprised people and which made me realize that like, hey, Indian food cooking is very intuitive and
I mean, it's more dependent on how you want it.
Exactly.
Like, I love a lot of butter, so I add a lot of butter.
Yeah.
I love a lot of ghee, so I add a lot of ghee in my food.
Yeah. I love a lot of garlic. I add it everywhere.
You add it everywhere, exactly. So there's this one ingredient called star anise. It's a spice. Star anise.
Yeah, star anise.
Yeah. So I love it so much that I would add it to my curries. I'd add it to my biryani.
Yeah.
So it becomes like a signature. Also. So I think in a way Indian cooking is very intuitive, and it also comes to you from looking at what's happening in your house or continuously growing up.
So have you noticed any specific remarkable differences between different ethnicities and how they cook, or different cultures and how they cook?
Yes.
Any remarkable ones?
There's a lot of differences.
Okay.
There are a lot of similarities as well.
I see.
So a lot of African cooking is very similar to Indian cooking.
Right.
But of course, the spices or the spice levels, they differ. At the same time, when we talk about differences, I see a lot of American foods, which are inspired from all over the globe. Since it's a country of immigrants. They do a lot of baking. So I would see that a lot of grilling that happens here. So that is one way of looking at how food is processed and cooked. Back in India, I would see a lot of frying, a lot of
cooking, in like
browning of onions and then making curries from it and things like that. But again, we are also looking at a lot of cross-cultural effect happening. Everyone is adapting from one place or the other. India itself is becoming so westernized in its ways of cooking. So is the United States. A lot of Indian things have been coming into it. I mean, I heard my friends talking about making saag and curry or something, and they love it. So there's a lot of cross cultural exchange happening at the same time.
Like what I found really interesting was UK's national dish is chicken tikka masala. I was like, first of all,
even I didn't know that.
I was like, okay, like you stole all our jewels and everything. That's fine. You have stolen our dish and made it your national dish. I don't know if we should be flattered or we should be offended that we are copying. It's fine.
No, I mean, I really appreciate that, this cross cultural way of cuisines is happening, because I believe everyone needs to know different foods.
Yeah.
They need to know what tastes what.
Yeah.
Because, okay, something very philosophical here. Our life is very short.
Right.
And I think it's very important to explore everything.
I see.
So when it comes to food, it's very important to explore all kinds of food.
So what all cuisines, I'm sure you also have explored almost everything, but something that would like surprise me, are there any cuisines which you've explored?
Well, what would surprise you would be a particular dish.
Right.
So not many people would have eaten a snake or a frog.
Right.
So I know there are people who have eaten it.
Yeah.
But that is something I loved.
And which was where?
This was back in Thailand. So there was this restaurant I went to. Was pretty young, but still very excited to try a frog. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's try it.
Frog legs?
Frog legs.
Right.
So they taste like wings.
I see.
But not a lot of meat in it.
Yeah, very tiny.
Yeah, then I love the rabbit. I've tried a rabbit.
Yeah.
But if you say cuisine-wise, I think in general, till date, I don't know what actual American cuisine is.
Same here. Like, I've always asked my friends, what does an average American eat for his lunch and dinner as a staple meal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't received an answer yet. I have even asked my professors, like, what is American cuisine?
Yeah.
They have always come up with answers like burgers, sandwiches, mashed potatoes. And I'm like, no, well, that's from France.
Yeah.
That's from Italy.
Yeah.
That's from some other place.
Correct.
So I think that is what I really like about it too, that everything's come together and now it's Americanized.
Yeah, and you spoke about African cuisine, so I had tried Ethiopian food,
right?
Which I agree, as you said, is so close to Indian food, right? They have like it's called like a dosa in India, I don't know what it's called in Ethiopia. And then there are like curries on that, and they taste so much like Indian curries, especially like Maharashtrian curries. So I love Ethiopian cuisine, and I never expected it to be that way.
Did you go to Desta?
I had gone to one Queen of Sheba in New York City.
There's one in Atlanta called Desta.
I see. Okay, I'll try it out.
Yeah, right next door.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite cuisines?
Oh, I love Thai food.
Thai food. Okay.
I love Thai food. Especially their curries, or I don't know, just the coconut in it makes me go crazy. So I love Thai food. I love the way they're decorated, or they even plate things. They make so many things edible. Like, I recently visited a Thai restaurant and they serve edible orchids. So I was like, well, that's really interesting.
Oh wow, like the flower?
Like the flower.
Okay.
But the edible ones. I was like curious, I'm like, what makes a regular orchid not edible and this one edible?
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting to know what it is. Apart from Thai, I think I really enjoy our traditional Indian food any single day. So
my Instagram explore page is filled with these North Indian Delhi street food reels, and my mouth is watering constantly if I go and look at them. Like they have all these paneer curries and chole kulcha. So all these Delhi Mughlai foods. That's what my Instagram explore is filled with.
So good. And I think a part of it, what happens is not a lot of Indian restaurants in the United States would serve you authentic Indian food.
True.
Like you would not get that actual Indian vibe from it.
Yeah.
So that's why you end up missing Harika Khana and things like that. And I think that's why I love Indian food again.
Yeah. And in India, is there a particular state's cuisine you like? For example, I love Gujju food a lot.
Okay.
The Gujju thali or the Rajasthani veg thali. The infusion of sweet, sour, and yet like spicy, tangy. I just love that.
Yeah, for me it's more like Maharashtrian food because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
So I love North Indian food too, but not all of it.
Yeah.
But mainly Maharashtrian food. I love my chapatis. I love my curries or aloo ki sabji.
Yeah.
So typical Maharashtrian food, which would be served at Ganesh festivals or in someone's marriage.
Yeah.
That's why I love going to marriages too.
Is Maharashtrian cuisine also your comfort food, or
It's my comfort food.
Okay.
Any single day. Yeah.
so when you've had a bad day or like a very excruciating, exhausting day, what do you eat?
Rice and dal.
Rice and
That's
dal?
it.
Yeah.
I can survive on that.
Yeah.
Because again, we look at it as a Maharashtrian food, but from the science point of it, coming back to that,
Right.
dal is a very good source of protein. Rice gives enough carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Of course, we should be eating rice in limits.
Right.
But that is enough carbohydrates to generate energy for your next day.
Right.
So maybe a bowl of rice and a good amount of dal, that's all you need.
Okay.
You can survive on that.
Cool. I'm not going to ask you what your least favorite cuisine is because you don't want to offend anyone.
Okay.
But are there some dishes which you particularly don't like? Maybe
Well,
in Indian food cuisine or other cuisines?
There isn't any because, I never struggled with food.
Really?
Yeah, and my teachers back in school, so my school had a very beautiful canteen.
I see.
More than a canteen, it was a dining hall.
Right.
Where we would have lunch and breakfast and snacks and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So I never said no to anything. I
Anything.
still love each and every part of it.
Not even like, a lot of people don't like Karela, which
I
is
love
bitter
Karela.
gourd. Even I like Karela.
Yeah.
There are only two vegetables which I don't like, and that is the eggplant or the brinjal as it's called in India, and there's something called as Valachi sheng. It's a type of a bean. Yeah, I don't like that.
It's a bean, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would eat everything.
Everything?
Every single
Wow, your mom must be like a very.
You're very fortunate
Yeah,
in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, coming from a family, we are like major meat eaters.
I see.
So we would have meat every day.
Every day?
Almost every day. There would be a few days where,
Right,
for
right.
religious
reasons,
we would
yeah.
not, but almost every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is that one dish of your mom that you just love?
Oh, it's the chicken curry she makes. And there's this particular chicken curry, it's called chicken made in ghee. So we call it tupatla chicken.
Tupatla chicken, yeah.
So the way she makes it,
Right.
I've tried to replicate that, it just doesn't turn out to be the same.
Yeah.
So that is one dish.
Nice.
And apart from that, I love pohe.
I love pohe.
I love pohe.
Sometimes I have pohe for dinner.
Pohe is basically flattened rice.
Yeah, puffed rice with spices.
Yes, with spices.
Yeah.
So that is my favorite to-go food.
Yeah. A big part of all cuisines in the world is street food. People say that the best food you get, the most authentic.
Or from your hot carts.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you are from Mumbai, which is one of the biggest cities in India. Mumbai is famous for its street food. Juhu Beach Pav Bhaji, Muhammad Ali Roads, Eid, Feast.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite street foods?
So one thing I crave every single day is a Tips Frankie.
Oh, okay.
Which is only in, I think, some parts of India.
Right.
They have not explored internationally as yet.
Right.
But I think they have one in Dubai. So that Frankie is something I crave every single day.
Wow.
And if I hope one day Mr. Tips, who's the founder of that company, he sees this video. Please share your recipe.
Mr. Tips, share your recipe. If you want, you can hire him also.
Trust me, I'll buy a franchise one day. But yeah, I mean, I love Tips Frankie.
Okay.
The original chicken Frankie you can ever get.
I see.
But apart from that, again, coming to your point about street food.
Yeah, also, sorry, I mentioned you're from Mumbai, but you're from Nashik.
I'm actually from Nashik.
I got confused,
Yeah. So, street food there's misal pav, which I love. Because that's a thing from Nashik.
Nashik, correct.
Yeah. I recently made misal pav and it was so good.
Nice.
I love pav bhaji. I love street food made dosas.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I know a lot of people love momos, but I'm not a big fan of momos.
Oh, you know, me
such.
neither. So, honestly, I've never really had momos once in my life. That too was at my my workplace, so it wasn't like a street side or a restaurant thing. And they were fine. Like,
I mean, everyone has their different ways of making it. I wouldn't enjoy momos the same way anyone else would.
Right.
But again, it's region specific.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of trekking and I used to
Right.
go to the Himalayas and all.
Yeah.
So the momos you get there
There.
are so different from what you would get here or
Mm.
some other part of the country.
Country, right.
So yeah, but apart from that, since you mentioned Muhammad Ali roads,
Yeah.
tikkas and
Yeah.
things like those, the feast,
Yeah.
tikka feast and all. I love shawarmas.
Mm.
I love raan, which is like a huge goat leg
I see.
served with rice and things like that.
Okay.
Well marinated overnight, cooked for a long time.
Right. Sarvesh, once you had come to my place and we had dinner and I ordered food. It was great, but I hadn't made it, unlike Sarvesh. But during that dinner, you spoke about your entrepreneurial ambitions. While you were at Drexel, you mentioned that food technology, product development were your favorite subjects. So has entrepreneurship in terms of the food industry been something on your mind always?
Yes, it has. So one of the major reasons why I took electives, like I fought for these electives,
Okay.
actually, were business development, problem
Right.
solving, and also project management.
Yeah.
Because at the back of my mind, I always had, or I have this ambition of doing something of my own as well.
Mm.
Because in the end, it's a big business.
Right.
Food is big. Everyone, it's going to stay.
Yeah.
It's never going to go.
True.
Because everyone needs
It's food. True.
So even if it's pet food,
Yeah.
it's human food, it's a big business. Or even an ingredient if
Right.
you're making one,
Yeah.
it's a big business. So that's always been on the back of my head that even if I'm not putting a food plant, I at least have a restaurant of my own.
Okay.
So at least that,
Okay.
But now the industry, when I have started working in it,
Yeah.
I've come to understand that it's not very easy to
Right.
have your own food industry.
Mm.
There's so many things that go into it,
Mm.
right from the laws to all the certifications you need to acquire.
Mm.
You need a land if you
Right.
want to manufacture,
Right.
or you need an office if you want to set up a CGP,
Yeah.
that is consumer goods
Yeah.
company, and then you have to hire contract manufacturers whom you have to pay a hefty
Yeah.
amount
Yeah.
to start with. So it's not very easy, but through learning and through all the experience you gather while
Yeah.
working with different companies,
Yeah.
you come to understand different steps involved
Right.
in how to make a business run.
Mm.
So even when I was working with my current company, I always went ahead and spoke to the business operations people. I spoke to the plant managers a lot about how things are working, how efficient it is.
Mm.
They would be scheduling labors, right?
True.
So I would be looking at, okay, why have they scheduled 5 less people today?
Right.
Why did that happen? Or why did they bring more 20 people to work today? So that makes a lot of sense when you want to do something of your own in the future.
Right.
So that's always something that's been on the back of my mind.
Mm.
Maybe 5 to 10 years down the line, I would want to do that.
Okay.
Or run something parallelly
Parallel.
with my current profession or job.
So if it's a restaurant, what kind would it be?
It would be a pure desi restaurant.
Oh, okay.
For sure. And completely authentic Indian
Indian food. Finally, we'll have
not,
something.
Yes, not palletized to any other regions.
I see.
It would
Yeah.
be as spicy as you would get it in
A dhaba.
in a dhaba,
Yeah.
or it would be as sweet as you would get in a bakery shop.
Okay.
So not palletized at all. It will be completely authentic.
So the path you pursued was so unconventional, and perhaps not many people would have done it before you, right? You had that one senior, but there was just one senior.
Right.
If people watching this want to pursue food science, how should they go about it?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important to find the passion.
Right.
At the same time, to find the best resources to pursue this field. I think in India there are very limited colleges or schools that do educate people on food and nutrition and things like that. But apart from that, if they can just find the right direction, they have the passion to make food, maybe commercially or even in restaurants or things like that, they can always go for fields like culinary science, because even from culinary science, you can come back to food
Right.
science and then go into the commercial part of it.
Okay.
Or they can obviously jump straight into technology, where they understand how different machines are made, calculating machine efficiency and things like that.
Right.
So just finding the passion for food is the key step.
Yeah.
And from there, I think sky's the limit. Like, but right now, the most trending part in the food industry is plant-based
Alright.
and reducing the amount of carbon footprint, which is really good because in the end, we need to save our environment.
True.
So that is something I would be pursuing too now.
And do you want to tell people that being a foodie does not mean you're passionate about food science?
Not at all.
Because in the end, it's science,
It's-
a lot of hard work, a lot of chemistry, I
A
believe.
lot of chemistry, a lot of
Yeah.
technology based in it.
Right.
And it's not about just making food.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
about understanding how it's made,
Right.
where it comes from,
Yeah.
and how you're going to deliver it. So
Yeah.
everything from ideation to commercialization
True.
is food science.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's a great ending to this episode. We have spoken so much, and there were so many times where my mouth was just watering based on the dishes we were talking about. So I think I want to go and have something
Before I move, I think I should call you over for one last meal.
last meal. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I would never say no to Sarvesh's cooking. So yeah, for sure. But thank you so much for agreeing to do this. He's in the middle of switching jobs, moving cities. He's having a farewell party afterwards, and he took time out for this. So really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.